Spectrovision Radio.
For eons, all across the Earth, countless cultures have spoken of the same disturbing pattern. Voices calling from the woodline. Faces borrowed by entities that have no right to wear them. And waiting in the dark for you. So when the trap is set, the lure prepared, heed not its siren song. And join us as we explore the unsettling reality of luring mimics and phantasms of the road.
Conspiracy.
Dogman. Sasquatch.
Homunculus.
Alien races.
Anunnaki.
Corey Feldman.
Ghost Dad. That's cool.
Poltergeist. Spirit summoning. Magicians are demons.
Anunnaki. Close the door,
Close the door! What is the moon? Cover-ups. MK Ultra. Shadow people. Disagreements.
Quiet, I'm trying to say words with my mouth.
Vampire.
Well, hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to Bleeful. I'm Chris. Welcome to be here today.
Welcome. I am John.
I'm Jeremy.
I am the eldest.
I am the middle child.
We do get that question.
Hey, we're not the same person. I promise.
I mean, say something original. You know, do you really think you're the first one to ever say that? How many comments we've got?
It was clever the first time. That's okay. You know, it helps the algorithm.
Just kidding. Do what you want.
Keep saying it. Any comment is a good comment in my book. What is going on today?
We've got a treat for you.
Yeah, Halloween's over, but we're still dishing out the candy.
What do we got on the burners?
Well, we have some of the most fascinating stories that have ever been aired on the Bleeful today.
Ooh, anywhere.
Yeah, there are some really, really interesting accounts in this episode today, guys. Well, this all came about because of a series of stories we got in a row that really, I think, shines some interesting light on the whole mimic concept.
Hi, come over here.
The mimic. I think we might actually have some theories today, which I'm excited to talk about. Yes, the mimic, a form of imposter entity. We did an expansion, a members-only expansion episode on the mimic, had some really good accounts from a lot of listeners, and we didn't get to do them all, but people seemed really fascinated by that episode, and I personally am pretty fascinated in this kind of version of an imposter entity that maybe one or all of us have run into at one point in our lives. So what's our first story, Chris? Do you want to set it up with a particular tale, a personal account of a potential mimic? Some really unique ones in this one. All right, this story touches on something that is close to my heart, at least the dark parts of my heart, which is spiritual architecture, which I've talked about a lot. And I hope I coined it because I wanted to be a coiner of this term. But
spiritual architecture.
Spiritual architecture. The idea that there are things in homes, the way that we structure things in different cultures that are specifically built to keep in or keep out good and bad spirits. Also, what is it about certain structures and the way things are built naturally that cause unintentional entryways for things from other places? So that's what this one touches on. You might be able to guess by the name.
Don't mind my spill.
What'd you do? You forget your bib.
I spilled seltzer water on my shirt.
Looks good.
So,
all right. So this first story comes to us from Harold, and it points to two sort of luring spirits that we've talked about before, oddly, in the whole. A dark duo, you might say, that until recently I'd never heard of as a creepy kind of coupling. In this next tale, the mobile home came with a promise, a clean break, a fresh start. New walls, new paint, but beneath every coat of color, something older was waiting. This story comes to us from Northeast Georgia. This is called Closet Portal, Dark Invitation.
my family has experienced paranormal activity for a very long time. From dead relatives appearing to them, to giving a ride to the ghost of a man who was killed on the same highway my great-grandparents were traveling. My family has a history of experiencing these things. The creepiest thing is what I want to highlight today. When my daughter was around 5 years old, we lived in a mobile home that we purchased out of a trailer park and moved onto a piece of property I grew up on, which is haunted itself. But we moved into the house, and after living there for several months, our daughter began to have trouble sleeping in her room. She would get up at night crying and tell us there was a man in her room with a little girl. Of course, I go and check, and there was nothing. This happened several times, so we decided to move her into our room. Things got better for a few weeks, Then, things began to take place during the day. She would be in her room playing and come out screaming about the man and the little girl. On one occasion, me and my wife heard screaming. We ran in to check on her, and she was hiding under her vanity, screaming that she didn't like the man. She would tell us there was a man with a big hat that had a little girl with him that wanted to play, and she didn't want to play with the little girl. She said that he lived in her closet and that he didn't always have the little girl with him. She said that she would wake up and he'd be watching her sleep. She even told us she didn't want to go outside anymore because the man with the big hat was in the yard. She even drew a picture of the little girl that was with the big hat man. A few months pass with this activity going on at least once a week. Well, one day, me and my wife decided to redecorate our daughter's room. We chose to decorate a wall for her to use her chalk on with the new chalkboard paint that had come out. So we chose the outside wall of her closet that could be seen from the living room. We start prepping the wall for paint, and guess what was etched underneath the old paint on the original drywall? Yep, the same creepy drawing of that little girl. No way my daughter could have done it, because it was under 2 different colors of paint from previous tenants. Me and my wife looked at each other and decided it was time to move and get rid of that house. That closet was a portal. It was marked. No telling what took place in that room previously. I attached a picture that I drew that looks like the one our daughter drew of the little girl. We haven't been able to find the original. Thank you guys for giving folks an outlet who've had these kind of experiences.
Man, what is...
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
it's not good.
No, it's not never
You
good.
don't uncover little girls underneath the wall.
That's a universal law. Yeah, pretty terrifying, but it's weird. What's weird to
Is
me...
this Hatman keeping her prisoner?
Yeah, does that sound familiar to you guys?
It does.
Yeah, Alana. Yeah, we had a story just like this, and there was another one that came up like this. There seems to be a pattern appearing in recent days about this combination of these two characters.
Was this the Halloween episode?
Yeah, the Halloween episode, there was one that we referenced, the first one we ever got from Alana, which was a pretty dark, disturbing one when she was camping. But the same thing, tall, shadow kind of figure-y, a man with a black hat and a little girl. They tried to get her to come into a car just outside of the woods. The child had black eyes. It was almost like a black-eyed kid thing. Well, like the concept of the episode, mimics are, most oftentimes that I've heard stories, the most unsettling stories, they're acting as a lure to lure you to potentially somewhere you don't want to be and to potentially be taken. And in Alana's case, she was lured by this little girl who she thought might need help in the woods when she was camping with her family. That's right. And when she came out the other side of the woods, I believe, where the girl was, there was a man with a hat, a tall man with a hat. They were holding hands, and there was this creepy car, and essentially it seemed like she was supposed to go with them, and she freaked out and then got very ill immediately after. Her family left the campground, and then hair falling out, almost like she had a sort of radiation poisoning. Yeah, and I believe the car just vanished as it went down the road. So it was obviously not just a right. Well, then she had these entity attachments once she got home that were either that or she thought maybe abduction, I believe. Crazy stuff. But yeah, there does seem to be this combination happening. Yeah. And we are getting more stories like that recently, which is kind of strange with the Hatman and a small girl. Very, very weird combo. But yeah, to your question, John, I don't know, because I've heard stories like that before where there seems to be a malevolent entity that presents as a woman or whatever, and then it has children with her as part of the lure. But are the children innocent spirits that are just there and under its control, or are they an extension of it? Right. Another mask. Yeah. This is the picture we'll have on screen for you guys of the sketch, which is pretty creepy.
Almost looks like a witch.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like a pointed hat kind of.
But that's the little girl though.
Yeah. But this is the little girl that was drawn. Yeah. And then they found what almost seems like a copy of it, or just very similar drawing under the paint, right? When they were. Right. That would be unsettling. Like there's something there.
Yeah.
And both kids are documenting
I don't
it.
blame them for moving.
For sure. That's some pretty good corroboration that something is going on.
Yeah. And I'll just say this before we move on to the next story. This made me think about, do you guys remember witch marks? We covered them briefly. Basically, etchings that were done in the olden days to, it wasn't practicing witchcraft. It was more of a protection against witchcraft, demonic entities, negative boogers, whatever.
Negative boogers.
That would come through, they were worried would come through thresholds and archways, windows, doors, things like that. So my theory, my closet portal theory. Let's hear it. We have so many stories, you hear so many stories about closets, specifically that sort of threshold. Is it because entities got used to finding a back way in, a place that people might have forgotten to mark because it's a threshold within the home already? And if that is a way that spirits get into a place through thresholds, that might be one that had forgotten to get marked or been overlooked by those marking it. I don't know. It's crazy theory. Probably not.
I'm not 100% clear on your theory.
I'll break it down later for you one day. But
I like your effort though.
Thank you.
Solving this riddle. Hopefully they get that portal closed.
Well, they're gone. They've moved.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
Well, I hope you're doing well, Harold. Thank you for the story. What's next, Chris?
This one is very animated.
Okay.
It's a pun.
I get it.
This is an excellent story. This is a speak pipe sent in from one of our listeners. Okay, in this next story, there's something waiting at the boundary, right where your yard meets the wilderness. It's a form known to children, a beautiful beacon only they can see. But the ones who linger too long at the woodline know some smiles are stitched too tight. And some balloons aren't meant to be followed. This story comes to us from Ryan in Angelina County, East Texas. This is called Winnie the Pooh at the Woodline. I love this one.
Okay, guys. So here's what happened. My name is Ryan. I was born on September 4th, 1981. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, I was out in the backyard with my dad, and I don't know what my dad was doing here in Angelina County, East Texas, is where I'm from. And all of a sudden, I looked in the back field and I saw, it's going to sound crazy, a giant Winnie the Pooh. It was huge. I mean, the size of a house. It was huge. I'm not even kidding. And I saw it and I thought, okay, and I'm a kid, I'm like 3 or 4 years old, and I thought it was like it was beckoning to me. I didn't hear a voice, but it was like wanting me to come to it, and I knew it as a child. And so I started crossing the fence, which is a barbed wire fence behind our house. It was in Sherwood Forest, south of Diboll, Texas. We lived off of 1818, which is a road we lived on. And I started crossing it, and thank God my dad was out there, and he stopped me and said, "What are you doing?" I remember him grabbing me and he's pulling me up. But I was like looking at this entity, or this giant Winnie the Pooh. It was like a big balloon. It was just floating above this tree. So years later, as a 6, 7, 8-year-old child, I remember that my brother and his friends, who were older than me, went out in the field. We always explored. We were mischievous. This is the mid-'80s. And I remember seeing, they were taking me to that tree. And at the bottom of the limb of that tree were that giant Winnie the Pooh. And I say giant, I mean, this thing was like, it was the size of, I don't know. It was just, imagine a giant Winnie the Pooh balloon that is, the size of half the size of an Airbus. I mean, it was huge. It was huge. It was beautiful to me as a child. It felt so safe. Like, come out here, it was like, this is what I felt, and I looked at the bottom, and they stopped me. The boys stopped me because they were older than me, and they stopped me. And at the bottom of that limb was a pond, but it wasn't a pond. It was like about the size of a maybe 20 foot by 30 foot quicksand. It was literally like a little pool of water, and the tree was dead. There was not a leaf on it. The tree was literally dead. And I'm telling you, if I had gone out there when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would have never looked at my feet and wondered, I would have never known where I was going. I would have been just looking at the Winnie the Pooh, and I would have drowned. I would have sank and drowned. And so that's my story. And the reason why I've thought about it, I've been listening to y'all's podcast and wondering about like the what was that? The here's some chapstick. It'll make you feel good. The stuff y'all talk about. And I wonder about or the big bird out in the woods and all this other stuff. And I've been listening to y'all's podcast, and I'm wondering how many kids, when you see them run off into a pool and they look like they're looking forward at something and not at their feet, they're literally looking like something's there. Or these kids that run off into the woods, is there something not drawing kids to their demise and killing them? Like, that's why you find kids in these horrible predicaments. It's not that they don't trust their parents. Maybe there's something out there that's wanting to kill the innocent. I don't know. It's crazy, and I know my time's almost up, but I've been thinking about it, and I just maybe I'll share it, maybe you won't, but I really appreciate y'all guys, and you keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you. You've opened my mind. You're doing great. God bless you, and thank you. Goodbye.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. You're not crazy. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a good, that's a great story. Just the visuals and also just a very interesting kind of point about, how many of these kids. Mm-hmm. I was thinking that as he was telling the story. I was like, what, all these weird potential accidents that happen, like what percentage of these kids could be being lured by some other interdimensional Winnie the Pooh or whatever else you're into.
Some inflated cartoon version of a Pennywise mask that just puts it on.
I don't know if they would want to run towards that.
No, I mean, Pennywise is wearing a mask. I'm saying it sounds like it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like luring, it's, children but appearing as something else, something other.
It's a fear eater, but they kill.
Yeah, Pennywise, I guess, was more immediately fear, but there was a bit of luring, I feel like, before.
Well, you think about the opening scene.
Yeah, it's true.
Want a balloon? Hiya, Georgie.
Yeah. Speaking of balloons. It's disturbing.
But yeah, mostly fear.
Man.
But very creepy. Very kind of dark,
Oh yeah, super dark. I mean, this is something that comes up.
It's very dark.
Like, I feel like mimics have become in pop culture and in Fortean lore, whatever, paranormal investigation. That's a very kind of relatively recent discussion topic, but this is something that's all over the world that's been, under a bunch of different names in different cultures. Like in Slavic lore, you have the Bolotnik, which is something that sits at the bottom of marshes, like this encounter.
Bolotnik.
That creates illusions on the surface of the water, lights, to draw in children. I mean, it's an almost identical sounding.
Be a great movie.
The Bolotnik. Yeah, got a ring to it.
It just sits at the edge of marshes and just like
draws
projects something above.
I mean, it's a lure, man. There's other things that allegedly can use, like certain herbs that will smell sweet. But it's, like what's Kelpie in Celtic lore, which is this, beautiful horse that stays near marshes and waterways, and then will entice children to jump on it and then drive itself into the lake and drown kids. Like, this is all over the world for, centuries and centuries. It's funny because it's so disturbing to think about, but Chris had an interesting point a few months ago during this festival, Yankee Peddler. I don't think I mentioned this on the show, but there's always a guy there who has these little, that's not a good example,
like duck calls
has the cool, like, little wooden whistles. Things. Yeah. And you were like, it's really weird to think, like, imagine being a duck. And like this call is like a sound of like either mating or maybe I need help, I'm another duck. And then you get there and then there's just this giant monster human that's like, nope, I tricked you. I lured you.
A dog and a gun.
Exactly. We're going to tear you apart after, thrusting metal through your body or whatever. It's super disturbing.
It's horrifying from a duck's
when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, duck is tasty. Essentially what we're talking about here, just for humans. It's more horrifying for us.
Right. For sure.
It's weird to think about.
It's a good metaphor.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily anti-duck hunting. I just thought it was an interesting
analogy.
Just don't think about it when you take that bite.
But coming from that perspective, it's exactly the same thing, except we're not interdimensional creatures.
Right. Not yet.
Yeah,
they see us around the neighborhood. They're not, it's not as horrifying.
Right. That's true. It's less terrifying because, we're not some strange entity.
Yeah, we don't have
evil magic. It's supposed to exist.
We don't have evil Winnie the Pooh magic.
Not yet. Again, I'm working on it.
Not yet.
Great story. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And love the speak pipes. Love hearing the voice.
Yeah.
Really adds to the credibility sometimes.
That was a great one.
Yeah. All right.
Classic belief hole strange listener stories.
Yes. What's next,
All right,
Chris?
we're going to go back to, this touches on the thread that we had earlier, the beginning with our first story, Closet Portal, when we had the encounter with the Hatman figure and the little girl. This isn't quite a mimic story, but it's haunting nonetheless. And the black hatted man makes an appearance. And actually this happened in a location we went to and visited and got some footage for. So we'll try to get that in here for the storytelling here, because it's not far from here. Strangely, the story that we're going to do later from The Judge, a really intense, luring story, really moving kind of story about his daughter. This happened only like half an hour from where this story happened.
Yeah.
Got several Ohio ones in this episode. All right. For this story, we get out on the road. And as we're all familiar with, there's some roads we take without paying any attention. Familiar curves, familiar trees, familiar streetlights, and their shadows. But one terrifying encounter with something inhuman can, in an instant, turn that safe and familiar drive into an entirely different landscape and make you, yourself, a stranger on that road. This comes to us from Casey, and this happened in Marion County in the fall of 1999, around 9:30 p.m. This is called Black Hats and Rainy Roads.
I have always been a believer in the paranormal and love that I found your show. So this event was the first time I experienced something paranormal, and it was what really freaked me out. This happened in the fall of 1999 or 2000. I worked at our local Kroger, and my boyfriend, now husband, lived about 20 minutes north of Marion in a little town. And one night when I got off work, I went to go see him. So I was just driving on State Route 23 until I got to the exit for his house. All was normal, except it was unusually dark out and a very cool night. I had my music on and was just enjoying the drive. I turned off Route 23 and started down the road and towards his house. It's a curvy drive, and there are farm fields everywhere. It wasn't long after getting on this road that I started to see something standing in the ditch. Thinking it was a deer, I didn't do too much about it, but as I got closer, I realized it wasn't an animal. On the opposite side of the road was a small ranch that an elderly couple lived in at the time, but directly across the road in the ditch stood a figure. As I started processing what it was I was seeing, my heart began to race, and I started to freak out. As I approached, I saw what appeared to be a man standing in the ditch. All I could make out was a glowing white face and hands. No features could be seen, and he was wearing a black, wide-brimmed hat, a long black coat, and black pants. He stood still, never moved as I drove by, and looked to be staring at the ground. I was scared to death. I was still about 3 minutes away from my boyfriend's parents' home, but I made it in less than one, even with all the twists and turns in the road. As soon as I pulled in, I was panicked. And of course, they didn't have the porch light on, and the door was locked. I stood there banging and yelling to let me in. Once inside, I explained what was going on, and of course, they thought I was insane. But I knew what I saw. Their neighbor happened to be a sheriff's deputy, so they called him, and he sent someone out to see if they could find anything. But of course, there was nothing. And I looked like a young crazy girl that was just being dramatic. I eventually calmed down, but I knew I had to drive back to that spot to go home to my parents, all in the country and by myself. I was so scared to leave, but it was very late and I had to go. I drove back by that spot, and there was nothing. Later, I would tell anyone I could about what I saw, and of course, 90% of the people just said, "Oh, okay," or "Sure you saw a glowing man." Ever since that night, every fall, I would start to get nervous that I would see him again. I never did, but now I kind of want to. We did discover that in the middle of the field that he had been standing by is a tiny cemetery with maybe 3 to 4 headstones that are falling over and hidden by a few trees. All I can think is maybe he was buried there, but I can't be sure. There used to be a marker on my Maps app, but now it's gone, and I can't find a record of it. It's in the middle of the field, so walking to it would probably call unwanted attention, and I don't think that would be fun. Explaining to the sheriff when they show up for me trespassing. Years later, we actually bought a house in the same part of the county, and literally 5 minutes from where this happened. And we still pass it all the time to go to my in-laws' house. But still, I've never had another sighting. I have been talking about it lately and discovered your show and just wanted to share a creepy little experience. Thanks for all the great episodes. And if Mr. Glowing Face shows back up, I'll be sure to update you.
Creepy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For that story.
Yeah, we drove there the other day trying to find this location using the parts of our story as clues.
It's a bit of an adventure.
And we did find a graveyard that was like an old cemetery, very small, kind of on this little hilltop right along the road between fields.
Yeah.
And we some grainy footage maybe we'll put in the video, but it was a very weird vibe.
Yeah, that was not the location. She got back to us finally.
Oh, she did?
So yeah, thank you for getting back to us. But now we do have the location. So
Oh.
maybe we'll go out there and see.
Well, maybe we'll put an
What's
actual footage, actual cemetery. It'll
Yeah.
say it on the screen if we find it, but yeah.
But yeah, who knows about that, whether it's someone from the graveyard or is this that ever-appearing Hatman type figure just out on the road. Unsettling though.
The glowing is a unique attribute.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It's weird with, I don't know if it's just an Ohio thing, but there's like several legends, and we've talked to some people who had encounters with green glowing or
Aaron? Yeah.
other people that just the green glowing.
Did you ever put that picture up?
Oh, I don't think we ever did.
Dude,
We never got it from him. I don't
No,
think.
I'm talking about the one that's right off the trail.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Did we get that
Oh,
picture?
I
Did he
saw
send that
it.
picture?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
you
maybe
did?
he did. That was way before we had video. Or I don't even know if we were on YouTube yet.
That's actually a pretty compelling piece of strangeness.
Yeah. If I can find that, I'll pop that up here. This happened in our hometown. And Ohio is the center of the universe.
Center of the believable universe.
Yeah. Well, we'll put this up on the screen here, but basically he had claimed to have seen and got a photo of a glowing green
humanoid figure.
Yeah, along the Ohio Erie towpath, the canal there in Canal Fulton. So this is it.
Yeah. Super strange. But yeah, he's not the only one. Like I've organically heard of other people who've experienced something along some green glowing man or some kind of, and it's weird because I don't know if you guys remember or have heard of this, but there's like, I think it's a not connected legend, but there's a legend of this guy who would walk along the road. I can't remember the name of the figure, the legend, but it was a glowing green man that would like walk through town. And it turns out the guy was actually had heavy uranium radiation poisoning and actually did glow.
Oh, really? Here?
Yeah, in Ohio somewhere. It's in that weird Ohio book.
Oh, crazy.
But it's a weird synchronicity because
Does your spirit stay irradiated?
well, it's weird because synchronistically I stopped in an antique shop I've never been to before in Barberton yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris had just been talking about it, some kind of medical test. That was like a nuclear test. And we were like, oh, that's what if it involves radiation. We walk in there and right inside were, among other synchronistic objects that we came across, were these glowing green plates and glasses that were
Antiques.
Uranium dishware.
It is glow in the dark.
Before they knew it could make you sick if you ate or drank from them.
Yeah. I looked it up and they're like, yeah, you can handle them, but don't use them for what they were made for.
Look really cool. Like the glass looks
Yeah.
glowing green, looks pretty alien.
You get superpowers?
Probably. Maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, weird. Anyway, glowing people.
Yeah. So let's stay on the road. Let's move along down that midnight road.
Where are you taking us next?
This story is actually in John's part of the world right now, Texas.
Same with Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. It's Ohio, Texas, man. Weird. This story happened to Dallas in Temple, Texas in July of 2025 at 1 a.m. This is called Faceless Female Hitchhiker.
Hello, y'all. I'm a hotshot driver, and one night I was taking some oil field material out to West Texas, coming out of Houston. I was on Highway 36, a little southeast of Temple, very rural area. The two-way highway passes through a lot of small one-light towns. Just outside of the town of Cameron, I noticed ahead there was a man walking on the side of the highway, headed towards me. I slowed down, and when I got closer, I could see all of his details. He was a Hispanic man with no shirt, had tattoos all over him, and I could clearly see his face as it was illuminated by my headlights. Nothing was out of the ordinary, other than a man was walking in the middle of nowhere at 1 a.m. Not 5 miles down the road, I noticed another person walking off to the side. I slowed and saw it was a woman, this time by her turquoise blouse and capris, and could see the bottom of her brown hair on her shoulders. She held out her thumb trying to hitchhike. As I got closer, I saw that my headlights illuminated her body, but I couldn't make out her face. It was pitch black and almost looked distorted or blurry. I couldn't focus on it. It was a blurry, pitch black face as the rest of her body was illuminated. As I passed her, I got the chills as my headlights should have brightened her entire body, just as it did with the man minutes earlier. The encounter only lasted less than 10 seconds, but there's no way my lights shouldn't have shown her face. Not sure what I saw that night, but my mind surely kept me awake all night for my drive.
That's a weirdie. Yes.
So the light wasn't reflecting the face?
Wasn't illuminating her face. Just the face.
Yeah.
The face was a black void.
That's crazy. It would be unnerving.
Yeah. It's weird too. And what adds more interest for me is the fact that the faceless hitchhiker thing is a real thing. Like it's a real phenomenon. It's one of the most common, hitchhikery apparitions there's that aspect of the face missing. So I don't know what that is, but how terrifying. Even in Ohio, like one of the most
Portal of nowhere.
Yeah. The void.
Yeah.
Ohio has one of the most recent or most famous cases in Claremont County, Ohio. Faceless hitchhiker finds himself in the backseat of somebody's car, but is first seen outside with no face. Gross, creepy. So just another category of,
I love those stories.
roadside lurker.
I just love the roadside, the kind of lonely road.
Yeah. Haunting atmosphere.
Yeah. Just would your headlights illuminate in the dark when you're on that lonely stretch of road? Like it's just you and that thing. And if your car stops, what's going to happen?
It's just weird again, Texas and Ohio. I just happened to, that's the first result right now on Google is Ohio, faceless hitchhiker. And this happened in Texas.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird connection between the two states.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I live there and you live there.
Mm-hmm. Here and there. And we used to live at either place. We switch around and we'll be down there. We'll be down there in a month or two.
Wait, we didn't switch, did we? I was never at home when you were in Texas.
Right. I just meant we both have lived both places and have moved back and forth.
That's true.
Yeah. It's important to get the timeline. So we'll be on that midnight road. Hopefully we don't see any faceless hitchhikers.
We might go to Claremont, check it out. As long as we don't run into, was it Bobo, the leg collector?
That's Australia, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that's in Australia, not here. That's what I do.
Bobo
the leg collector.
Do you remember what I thought the eyewitness name was Bobo.
Oh, you're right. The witness name was Bobo. I don't know if leg collector has a name.
The leg collector is
I like Bobo the leg collector, though. That's great.
Maybe Bobo became a leg collector after that. Yeah. We're supposed to get that illustration from that really talented artist who's done the work behind Jeremy. He was going to make us a custom leg collector poster. So if you're out there listening, we're still waiting. We'd love to have that.
Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar with that, check out that episode, Australian Horror, that we did. We'll put the link in the show notes, but that's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Oh, terrifying.
Okay, this next case is a truly fascinating one. We went out to interview this fella, the judge, as he's known by in dogman circles. Actually, we didn't even get to know his actual name when we met him. He's actually from him and Shane are from the Shadows podcast. We'll put a link in the show notes, and they do great work interviewing people for their original encounters with a lot of Bigfoot type encounters and other dogman. The judge actually has an incredible Dogman account that we'll be playing in the next Ohio Dogman episode that we do. But we went out there and didn't get the judge's name because there's an issue with obviously his anonymity and that he's actually a practicing judge, if that's how you refer to him, in the courts. So it can be somewhat problematic. He's run into issues in the past with problems being a judge and then having conflict with the podcast. And there's credibility issues, of course, with people with small brains, closed minds. But yes, but anyway, I think the most intense story is what happened to his daughter. Such a personal account.
Yeah.
And it ties in with this episode. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode was because of his story.
Too bad the audio quality wasn't a little better. Technical issues with that, but.
Yeah, we did have some technical issues with the miking in this room. So yeah, it will sound a little Audio is a little lower quality than usual for the
Right.
voice recording. But the story's well worth it. So this happened in Bucyrus, Ohio. And we're going to play sort of the end of his remarks here from our interview, but it's where he's kind of giving us a warning and giving listeners a warning about
Parents.
parents specifically, about the potential reality of the lure. What the kids are talking about sometimes that often get dismissed. The lure. So hit it.
Think about the wind story. And I tell this to people who have young kids. If your child tells you they see something, don't just blow it off.
Yeah.
Investigate it, talk to them. It's a cautionary tale. And like I said, I get emotional. I tell it, and I look, I'm on camera, I'm about crying my eyes out. And I do this. And the only reason why I tell this story, because like I said, I'm emotional. And so I do this because I strongly believe that somebody might hear this. And if their child has a similar experience, they'll take it very seriously. Yeah. Because after hearing the story about the little boy in Toronto, it just really struck me that I need to tell this story, because this thing is out there. And when it showed up in Findlay and then it showed up at a Chinese restaurant, it's just surfing around looking for kids. It's hard for me to tell the story, but it's important to tell this story, because if somebody hears my story and their child says they see something, they'll listen.
Creepy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good setup.
Yeah.
Just surfing around, looking for kids.
Yeah. See who they are able to trick. And I think he said in that, the wind story. Right. Because the thing, does that give it away? Well, all these little clues will make sense when we play this story.
It just reminds me of that conversation I had with that guy I met last night.
Oh, yeah.
There was a guy that I had met last night who said that he had met a Rothschild.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And got involved in some serious conversations with him. And he basically said, that people like his family and others, I mean, it's all occult magic. People that run the world are doing like some really dark stuff. And they're the ones pulling a lot of the strings in the world, including like occult magic and a lot of other things that I can't talk about. But it just reminds me of that same energy that goes around and looks for children. And
yeah, the same darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a son in the family of the Rothschild that...
he's
not the guy you met, but...
No. Yeah, the guy that I had hung out with last night. Totally random. I was not expecting him to talk about this, but he seems to be a fairly well-off, connected person. And so I don't know, which Rothschild, but it was definitely a descendant that had connections directly to the family that knew all this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And if anyone's run across the Aaron Russo interviews,
exactly,
it's very similar, that he was tied into some of these people and they would just confess everything that they were doing. Yeah. These very powerful, connected people that I'm sure most of people that listen to this channel probably are somewhat aware of stuff like this. We tend to not go too far down that rabbit hole because it's pretty dark and there's plenty of other stuff out there that you can look into. We're a little bit more lighthearted channel.
Yeah.
But that stuff is real, man. And it does remind me a lot of some of this energy that is more on the spiritual plane. But
yeah. Well, you got to wonder how many times are those things colluding? Are the people that are doing these really dark, evil things, are they doing it on behalf of something that is more ethereal sometimes, Yeah.
Well, that's what occult magic stuff is.
Exactly.
It's you're bringing that darkness into this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very dark, unsettling.
Ritualistic magic and all sorts of darkness. Anyways.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a great setup and looking forward to hear the story.
Well, before we hit the story, do we want to take a break?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been a perfect spot for BetterHelp. If only we had a sponsor today.
All right. We'll be back in a jiff.
All right, guys, when we get back, we got more strange tales to tell. See you in a minute. All right, guys, on this week's Members Only episode, we're going to be following a trail of unexpected synchronicities that takes us through some truly bizarre, high strangeness headlines. From soul-selling blood packs for Labubu dolls to cryptid discoveries of the double-nosed Andean tiger hound, we're ripping into the weirdness this week. We'll also get into ChatGPT poisoning, smiley face killer updates, and what's the latest on 3-Eye Atlas. And we're going to tie that synchronistic thread into a nice little bow as we find some interesting connections
with the Faceless Phantoms we've discussed in this episode. So if you want to hop on for the whole ride, every headline, every haunting, every cosmic calamitous curveball, come and join us in the expansion, because members get it all.
Yes!
So head on over to believehole.com, hit that shiny big red expansion button, and we'll see you there.
Access granted.
Using the social media network Telegram, a Russian marketeer, naming himself only as Dmitry, posted an ad offering 100,000 rubles to anyone who would sign a contract in blood, selling him their soul. He was not expecting anyone to take him up on the offer, he says, but a 26-year-old woman did. Quote,
A young woman named Karina responded, accepted the deal, signed the document, and sealed it with blood.
Dmitry wrote.
Just bought my first soul.
What the
I definitely feel like Davy Jones right now.
Awesome. Can you do a Russian accent, John? Is that in your repertoire?
I just bought my first soul.
That's pretty
Is that a
good.
vampire?
I just bought my first soul. I definitely feel like Davy Jones right now.
That's great. To prove it, he posted an image of Karina holding the signed contract on social media, along with a receipt for the money. For her part, Karina told the Telegram channel, MASH, that she cared little for her soul, or what its new owner decides to do with it, and had spent the money on a collection of Labubu dolls, and a ticket to a concert by Russian folk singer, I'm not sure I'll get this right.
Mazida Kadishiva.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
You've heard the teaser, but that was only a taste. Inside the expansion, 100+ ad-free episodes, the full 30-episode first season, and our live stream archives. Want in?
Yes.
Head to beliefhole.com and hit the big red expansion button.
Welcome back. You're welcome.
Let's do it.
Sip from that beautiful mug. That's right, at the merch store. It can be yours. All right, let's get back into it. We're going to go right back to the judge and hear his pretty incredible account, experience his daughter had. This is called The Beckoning Wind.
This is an event that happened. My youngest daughter was born in 2003. I think she was about 3 years old, so this is probably around 2006. And we had built a new house. I always did the bedtime ritual with my two daughters, so I would give them baths, and we would do story time and tuck them in and stuff like that. And they had separate bedrooms because my other daughter was about 3 years older than her. So one night, we do the bedtime ritual, and I walk out of the room, and we still had a baby monitor in because it was a big house. And so when you're downstairs, just nice to know when you have little kids. So I hear my daughter kind of crying, and she's talking to somebody, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I go upstairs and I say, hey, what's going on? And she says, this little boy's bothering me. And I'm like, what little boy? And I'm thinking she goes to Sunday school, and I'm thinking it's some little kid in Sunday school. And she says, that boy over there. And she points to the corner. Look over at the corner, and I'm thinking she's stalling. I'm thinking she's stalling. She wants more attention, whatever. So I play along. I go, well, what does he look like? Because I'm totally not believing that there's somebody in the corner. And she says he's got blonde hair and he's wearing blue bibs. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what's his name? I'm still playing along, right? And I'm expecting a little boy's name, right? Bobby, Billy, Jimmy, whatever it is. And she says, his name's Wight. I get emotional telling the story. And she says, his name's Wind. And I'm like, holy, like what? Like, what do you mean Wind? And she says, his name's Wind. And I'm like, well, what does he want? And she says, he wants me to go outside and play. Now, it's wintertime. It's cold. There's snow and all that stuff. And wind whipping across the field, because where we built this house, there's nothing around me really on the one side. It's just like 2 miles of field, and snow would literally blow up in mounds and stuff. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't go outside, would you? No, I don't want to go outside. And you can tell she's very upset because he was pestering her, wanting to go outside. Now, at the time, in this house, I had a home security system. So, made sure that the alarm was on. So if one of those doors opened, it'd go off. And so eventually he went away that night. And I went downstairs and I told my wife at the time what happened. And she was kind of skeptical, and so the next night, same thing. Wind shows up again. She starts crying. I go up there and what's he want? Wants me to go outside. I'm like, hey, not to go outside. And night number 3, same thing. But he didn't stay very long. So to me, part of me still not believing this. Part of me still not believing that there is something in this house. But she's really upset, so she sees something. So the 4th night, he shows up again. So we were going to a church. At the time, I was an attorney and, busy. So I finally go visit the pastor of the church, and I start telling the story because I want some guidance. And he kind of soft sells me, kind of blows it off. Kids have imaginary friends. And I'm like, dude, this isn't some imaginary friend. She's not friends with this thing. This is causing her distress. And like I said, he just kind of soft sells it to me. I'm like, well, that didn't get anywhere with that. You know what I mean? And I'm not Catholic, so I didn't know a priest to call to come out with holy water or anything like that. And so night number 5, he shows up again. Now, he doesn't stay that long. So like people were busting my balls about, well, why didn't you have the kid sleep with you? Well, he didn't stay very long. He would show up, he'd stay a little bit, pester her, and then he was gone. And then he was gone for the rest of the night. It wasn't like he never touched her and he never did anything. It just was pestering her. Come outside and play with me. Come outside and play with me. And so I told my wife at the time, I said, why don't you take the kids and go stay at your mom and dad's? They were living in Findlay at the time. And I'll stay here because I had work to do anyways and stuff like that. So she takes them to Findlay, and about 10 o'clock that night, I get a phone call. Wind showed up in Findlay. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So now I know that this isn't something that's attached to the house. Yeah. It isn't like we built a house on an Indian burial ground. And what I mean? Like this thing moves and it travels.
Okay, so at this point in the story, he hasn't seen anything himself. I think he's starting to believe her because she's so distressed by what she's experiencing.
Seemed like he believed her right from the beginning, kind of.
He was concerned at least, yeah. Yeah, well, he just said that, he still wasn't quite believing. That's why he didn't do anything the first few nights or whatever. But yeah, obviously right away, could tell that she was...
Considering for how a lot of parents would react, thinking it's more like psychological.
Right, yeah. But yeah, he himself has not seen anything yet, but he does. And this is the rest of the story.
So they came back the next night. They only stayed one night. They came back. And I believe it was that night or the next night. She's awake. She's in her room. I hadn't put her to bed yet. And I come up the stairs. And so as I'm about to walk into my bedroom, out of the corner of my eye, I see little boy, blue bibs, blonde hair, walking in my daughter's bedroom. I seen it. And so now it's like, and I would like to say that I just ran in that room and no, I froze. I literally just froze because my mind's trying to process that. Did I just see this? So I hear my daughter talking to Wind, and then I hear this language. And I don't speak German, and I don't speak Russian or Spanish or Japanese or anything like that. But if I heard somebody talking in that dialect, I'd be like, oh, that sounds like, you know what I mean? This is something I can't even describe. Like it was this guttural language that I couldn't even mimic. Like I couldn't even mimic it. And I thought, because I hear it coming through the baby monitor too, I thought this was Wind talking to my daughter. Well, it turns out that was my daughter. Like I said, I get emotional telling the story. And then I hear her say, okay. So I rush in the room, and she says, sorry, it's just crazy. She says that he's not going to bother me. So he was gone. He doesn't come back. And so days go by, weeks go by, no wind. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the hell language was she speaking? So fast forward about 6 months, we're at a Chinese restaurant with the church group. And I always sat at the end of the table with the kids because I want to make sure they didn't do something wrong. So at the one end's all the adults, and at this end is me. My daughter's sitting across from me in like a booster seat, right? And then there's kids, and all of a sudden her head jerks like this. And she says, Wind, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, did you just see Wind? And she's like, yeah, but he's not gonna bother. And she just went back to eating. Like nothing happened. So I realized this thing's just surfing around. It's just surfing around, you know? And fast forward, I don't know how long, I couldn't tell you. I'm at my office and this story pops up on a news feed about this little like 3-year-old boy up in Toronto, Canada, who was living in this apartment complex with an elevator, and in the middle of the night, he gets up and he walks out of the apartment, gets in the elevator, takes it all the way to the bottom floor, walks out the front door. It's wintertime. Walks 2-3 blocks away to a park he had never been to and freezes to death. And my first thought was Wind or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what this thing wanted to do to my daughter. It wanted to lure her out of the cold, and she was going to freeze to death. Like, and that's why I get very emotional about it, because this thing was trying to lure my daughter out and kill her.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to do.
Dude, that's total corroboration of the Winnie the Pooh story.
Exactly.
Same exact thing.
Another lure.
That's dark, man.
Yeah. And the name, in this instance, it referred to itself as Wind, which is just a bizarre, luring you out to come out into the winter winds and die, basically.
And it just like goes wherever.
Yeah.
Like wind. Like he said, surfing around.
Didn't have any success with his daughter, so exactly, just moves on.
This thing is like it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to bring it up again, but that's essentially what the whole concept is.
For sure. Yeah. You wonder how much of that is, did Stephen King get the idea because it's in the overall consciousness?
Well, exactly.
These things do exist,
The greatest writers, and they're getting stuff from the ether a lot of the times. It's not just original thought. It's like, it's coming from nowhere. It's coming from the consciousness of human beings itself, it seems like.
Yeah.
Man, what a crazy story, though. That's definitely
disturbing,
especially, I mean, it kind of reminds me, I have a friend named Mike that has daughters, and he's had nothing quite that extreme as far as luring, but definitely he's had quite a few experiences of his daughters being really scared about seeing stuff and like a man. And
really,
I think so. I mean, as far as I can't remember exactly, but it was like something that was in the room continuously that would keep making them cry at night.
Oh, that's horrifying. Yeah. So scary as a parent.
And, Mike's pretty open-minded, and he listens to the show occasionally. He believes in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Difficult situation to try to figure out how to deal with that, because you don't want to scare them more.
Yeah.
But you want to make them feel like they're believed.
Right.
And you don't know what to do about it all at the same time.
Yeah. And you have to make them feel like they're safe, like you're going to, you can protect them. Even if you're not sure what's going on.
Probably like a helpless feeling. Really helpless feeling.
But I think that first step is kind of what he was saying as a parent, a warning in the first place. The first step is
believing them.
being, or at least being open-minded to what they're saying. Don't just write it off immediately. And what you were saying earlier, John, about, during the Winnie the Pooh story, like how many of these cases where you get, it reminds me a lot of the missing 411 phenomenon, how you get a child who is for some reason just wanders off into the woods. And sure, it could maybe a pretty bird or whatever, but maybe
Pretty bird.
something else.
Maybe that pretty bird is
A giant spider clown.
disguising itself. A spider clown.
Yes. I don't know how much of the conversation we had with the judge would be usable or got recorded, Chris, from our interview, but I wanted you to mention this because this is important before we move on. Yeah, I thought there was kind of an interesting connection. So he had mentioned not understanding some kind of language that he thought was coming from this entity, and turns out it was coming from his daughter. Yeah. This kind of language he couldn't mimic, sounding something archaic and old. And what's interesting is the name of this demon, if you want to call it that it gave itself as Wind. And in ancient Sumerian, I believe, you've heard of Pazuzu, right?
Azazel?
Yeah, but Pazuzu in The Exorcist. Right? Oh, right. That was was Azazel in The Exorcist?
Azazel was Fallen with Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Was in the box.
That's a different movie.
Was in the box. Oh, wait, wasn't that?
That was 7.
That was
Seven.
That was 7, yeah.
Apologies. Still a great quote.
Another great film.
But anyway, Pazuzu in The Exorcist was this, he was basically kind of shown as like the demon, right?
Yeah.
But Pazuzu was a kind of demon, but was used more in a protective kind of way. In ancient Sumeria, they would wear amulets of Pazuzu to protect themselves from more malevolent spirits or demons. And what's kind of interesting is there is a kind of demon of the wind in ancient Sumeria called like Lilu or Lulu. I can't remember exactly right now, but it's interesting to consider that these entities, whatever they are, could go back through the beginning of existence under different names, but the idea that maybe there is this ancient demon, this entity, this luring wind. Right, and the Pazuzu aspect of it would be the thing talking through her. Because I think that's the point which we didn't mention, which is important to mention, that part of the story right there can, I think, get misheard or looked over. But at that moment, John, he's saying that when she's speaking that other language, that wasn't wind talking. That wasn't an evil demonic force. That was something that was protecting her. Or coming through her. Because right after she speaks whatever to her,
right, yeah.
She goes, okay.
Interesting, yeah.
And then never came back.
Well, it did come back.
Well, not to her, but they ran into it at a Chinese restaurant, but it wasn't there to be with her. She could still see it, but it was with another boy.
Yeah.
It's a creepy idea. But the idea that, it said she spoke this language, this thing came through her and basically told Wind to, screw off,
Screw off, Wind.
Screw off, get out of here, Wind.
Skedaddle.
Yeah, could that be a Pazuzu Sumerian kind of protective possession almost? Yeah.
Yeah. Or some maybe even like family member or some sort of ancestral tie.
Yeah. You have the angelic idea of the
yeah,
that's true. Enochian language, which would also sound, strange and alien.
It's true. Yeah, no, that's possible for sure. Interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. Yeah, fantastic story.
Lots of levels to that one.
Yeah.
So he has a Dogman story too? That was what you went to record.
Yeah, I originally went to record him, and I wish we had gotten better audio. That was a problem of not.
Yeah.
It was just a brand new setup. It was their studio. I think they were kind of borrowing, and really cool place, but we just didn't have much time to get it all checked before we did it. But yeah, we went there to record his Dogman story. It's a fascinating story, and it'll be coming up in one of the next couple episodes. We do our Ohio Dogman episode. Yeah, I was just going to say what's interesting, and he mentions this, or Shane did, but where this wind incident happened was about a mile away from where he had his Dogman encounter. Kind of bringing us back to the idea of window area, or like just a hot spot kind of thing. It's also, 15, 20 minutes from Marion, where, our listener saw the glowing-faced dark entity spirit in the graveyard from this episode. Yeah. So we've been over that part of Ohio recently for some of these listener stories, but it's a weird liminal, very, very rural kind of place. Haunting. All right.
Fascinating.
Thanks, Judge.
Creepy.
Again, check out their podcast, From the Shadows podcast, with Shane and the Judge.
Can see why he does a podcast. He's had some pretty crazy experiences.
For sure. Yeah. Sure, why don't you take us to the next tale? This is a bit of a turn in the road. Getting back on the road. Back on the highway again. This is kind of a double-sided episode. Roadway stories and luring entities. This one's kind of a mix. Yeah, this next story takes place on a lonely road. I think it's Route 54 in Kingman County, Kansas. Very liminal stretch. And this comes from Jason. I call this Old Sorrow of Old Sheff.
I was driving back home to Liberal, Kansas on September 15th, 2025. It was around 10:45 p.m. I was about 45 minutes out of Wichita, I think in Kingman County, nearly ready to enter Pratt County. I was on US Highway 54. I often travel on this road to go back and forth to Independence, Kansas, to visit my family. There are stretches of this highway where there is really nothing but farmland, empty fields, forests, windmills, and an occasional abandoned house or two will pop up here and there. Anyway, it was a warm, clear night. There were no clouds in the sky. I was doing 75 miles per hour in a 70. I recently bought a new car, and I know this sounds lame, but one of my favorite parts of my car is my headlights. They are fantastically bright and illuminating. I have them set up for the bright lights to go on and off automatically, as if I was driving. As I was driving, there were no cars behind me, and no cars coming in the opposite direction. It was just me, blazing my high beams on. Out of nowhere, my headlights caught this large figure standing on the side of the road, right where the shoulder meets the grass. Next to it looked to be a wooden pole that might have held a mailbox some time ago. So that gave me something to measure this figure's size. It roughly stood about 6.5 to nearly 7 feet tall, though it had a slight hunch to it, like how humans look as they age. You know how senior citizens begin to kind of hunch over. Anyway, besides its height, the next thing I noticed were its long arms. They were gorilla-like, and they came down the side of his body at a curve, allowing its knuckles to, I think, touch the pavement. Its fur at one time was probably black, but it looked like it had turned a whitish silver with age. It looked really old. When my lights hit it, his fur kind of looked shiny and dull at the same time. His head seemed slightly small for his body, and it had a protruding brow like an orangutan. The most interesting aspect of this creature was his eyes. They were glowing a light blue color, like small blobs of light, if that makes sense. The weird thing is, as I drove by, in those 2 or 3 seconds, we locked eyes and we stared at each other. I couldn't break eye contact with it. As we looked at each other, I felt nothing but an overwhelming feeling of utter sadness and heartbreak. It's like the thing was trying to communicate some sort of hurt to me. Though at the same time, I know this sounds goofy, I felt a kind of love from it. It just looked beat down by life, like it wanted to give up. I didn't feel scared or frightened. I just felt sorry for the thing. I really did. To push the story a little further, it had a human-like quality to it, but I can't really describe what I saw to make you guys understand. It just seemed somewhat humanish. In a split second, I thought, should I slam on my brakes, put it in reverse, and try to take a picture of it? But something inside of me said, leave it alone, leave it alone. I drove into Pratt County and instantly got pulled over for doing 78 in a 65. With my quick wit and kindness, the police officer gave me a verbal warning and sent me on my way. Being stopped by police made me forget what I just saw, and after another 2 hours, I finally made it home. It was after midnight. I showered, put on my pajamas, and jumped into bed. As I put my head on my pillow, I started thinking, did I really see what I saw? So for the hell of it, I grabbed my phone and typed in cryptids in Kansas. I jumped out of bed in shock. After looking at a few sites, I came across something called Old Sheff. I'll end my story here and let you guys do your research, but on one of the web pages I found, they showed a map of Kansas where Old Sheff has been spotted, and sure enough, he's popped up in Kingman County, right where I saw him. Old Sheff perfectly fits the description of what I saw that night. An old, imposing, human-like ape creature. Next time I drive back home, I'll be keeping my eyes open for my old blue-eyed buddy.
Yeah, what a wonderfully strange encounter.
It's a belieful tale right there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I love the aspect of it being like sort of feeling sorry for it. Like this aging entity, whatever it is. Yeah.
I wonder if it lost all its family or something.
Yeah. Or how long has it been around? Yeah. Did you look into this at all, Jared? Do we know how long back these sightings go? Yeah. Well, that's what's kind of fascinating about this. So reports started appearing in like I think it was late 1860s, maybe 1869. Oh, wow. Okay. So quite a while. If this thing is that thing, might be something that's supernatural. Potentially, or maybe he's grown into kind of supernatural legend type being, if that makes sense.
Or it ages like a sea turtle.
Yes. A slow, hairy. The turtle. The blue eyes, the blue pinpoints of blobby light. I mean, that sounds very ethereal, very haunting. I mean, imagine seeing that in this hunched over grayish. Well, it also reminds me of aging animals. Like, these very old dogs or cats that have like blue glowing eyes. Not necessarily glowing light out of their eyes, but just, that pale kind of.
Aging animal sounds like a
band?
Yeah, or something.
Aging animal.
We are the aging animals.
It's a good insult. Technically true. But anyway, so there are some interesting reports from the time that oddly, he didn't even mention some of the connections with his encounter, some of the attributes that are just so strange. And like you guys picked up on the kind of unique attributes of that emotionality of this thing and that kind of sorrow, which is why I called it the old sorrow of old Sheff. But that was also picked up on by our good friend Samuel Clemens. Oh, Mark Twain. Otherwise known as Mark Twain, he talked about old Sheff? Yeah. And he, this was a time of like sensationalism in newspapers, right? And that kind of idea. So his article is kind of tongue in cheek about, the reality of old Sheff. I mean, he calls him old Shepp. But he kind of nails the description of the newspapers at the time, kind of summarizing the different reports. So I just wanted to read a real quick thing from Samuel Clemens here on old Shepp, as he calls him. He says, quote, "There's been so much talk about the mysterious, quote, wild man out there in the West for some time that I finally felt that it was my duty to go out and interview him. There was something peculiarly and touchingly romantic about the creature and his strange actions. According to newspaper reports, he was presented as being a hairy, long-armed, and of great strength and stature." So yeah, we can hear that kind of similarity already with the account from our listener. "Ugly and cumbrous, avoiding men, but appearing suddenly and unexpectedly to women and children. But never molesting any creature, except for sheep or other prey." Like, not bothering.
You've heard about sheep's genitals.
Well, molesting just means to bother, technically. Yeah. Like Spanish, no moleste.
I was just kidding anyways.
Old way of speaking. Sheep genitals. Except for sheep and other prey. Fond of eating and drinking and not particular about the quality of the beverages and edibles. This is where you start to hear what we're talking about. Living in the woods like a wild beast, seemingly oppressed and melancholy, but never angry, moaning and sometimes howling, but never uttering articulate sounds. Such was old Shepp, as the papers painted him. I felt that the story of his life must be a sad one, a story of suffering, disappointment, exile, a story of man's inhumanity to man in some shape or other, and I longed to persuade the secret from him. So he goes on to have a fictional interview with old Shepp. Right. And it's funny because, this is based off of the reports in the newspaper at the time. Yeah, he's kind of getting the description from there. Yeah, he's kind of putting all the reports together in that kind of summary, but those were the kind of qualities of him. And I just find that so interesting that's just such an uncanny and unique attribute of our listener's story. Oh, and when he says suffering, disappointment, exile, it's the loneliness that our listener picked up on when she locked eyes, or he locked eyes. Really fascinating. Yeah, so I wonder what that is. Let's go find him. He needs a friend. Sounds like he needs a friend. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, really interesting. Yeah, and right before we do our last story, I just wanted to mention, we will definitely touch on mimics again in the future. And maybe even, there's a story that we won't have time for today, but I just came across, of course, last minute, a previous mimic speak pipe that's really good. Yeah, we had a kind of a flood of stories come in after we did our episode on mimics and the expansion, and didn't even realize that we had so many come in. So we couldn't fit them all in here, but maybe next listener stories we'll hear from the basement mimic of this girl's father. Real creepy, but they're everywhere, guys. They're everywhere. So our final account here, mimic, doppelganger, however you want to refer to this thing, it's pretty eerie. And this comes to us all the way from the Isle of Wight in the UK. And by the way, I was just going to say there's a great phrase in this story, a great term from the UK. What was it? Top to tail, I think, or something like that. I think it means sleeping head to toe with someone else. All right. So this story happened to Lauren on the Isle of Wight in 2003 or 2004, and it's called It Was Staring into the Corner.
Hi, guys. Just want to start by saying how much I love the podcast and how many bad days you've got me through. I really appreciate you. Well, this story is not my experience, but I was there. It will make sense soon. Back in the summer of 2003 or 2004, me and my family went to the Isle of Wight to see my stepmom's side of the family. We used to go every year, which was nice, as being from up north, the weather was always nicer. The house we stayed in always freaked me out, but I just put that down to being a scaredy cat and tried to ignore it. Anyway, me and my stepsister at the time would always share a room and top and tail in the bed. Being typical teenagers, we'd talk and laugh ourselves to sleep. So this night was no different. When I woke in the morning, I felt great and had slept great, but my sister not so much. She looked tired. I asked what was wrong. This scares me to my core to this day. She said she woke up in the night and saw me sitting at the end of the bed, my back to her and facing the corner of the room. She knew it was me because of my dark hair and the jammies I had on. She kept saying my name, and I didn't respond. So she sat up to nudge me, and as she did, she realized that I was asleep next to her. She looked back, and this thing that looked like me just kept her back to her. Didn't move or say a thing. She hid under the covers until she fell back asleep. I was so freaked out after this that I slept with the light on for the rest of our stay. I do have a few more experiences and strange happenings from being a baby that I'd love to share. Thank you so much for taking the time to read this, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
I want to hear your baby stories. How do you remember? Anyways, go ahead.
Some people do.
What were you going to say, Jer?
Yeah, so I was a little confused. So it was a mimic of her, that her sister saw. And her sister told her about this later. Yeah. But then she couldn't sleep because after she woke up, her sister told her and she couldn't sleep the rest of the night. Right. That was because I was wondering at the moment, it reminded me, we just saw recently Black Phone 2.
Oh, was that good?
Yeah. I was kind of surprised it got as high of a score as it. I mean, it was a great movie, but I would have edited it down a bit, trimmed it down a hair in points. Seemed a little draggy at times. Yeah, John?
The first one I didn't get through.
Oh, really? I really like the first one. They're dark films. Yeah. Same kind of idea. Yes, John?
You know what was a good movie that surprised me that I kind of just found it randomly?
Huh.
Quite good, actually. Companion.
Oh, yeah. That was good. Great movie.
That was pretty well done.
With young Quaid. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that who that is?
Yeah, it's Dennis Quaid's son.
Okay. Yeah, it does look like him.
Yeah.
Really good. I mean, I was expecting nothing.
You went into it not knowing anything about it?
I just thought, maybe some kind of horror movie or something. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
That's the best when that happens.
Really interesting story.
Yeah.
Totally not. And, like that Megan movie.
Yeah. I did not enjoy that. A lot of people like that movie. I just
did not like that at all. I thought that was really cheesy.
Just a little too
this
silly.
One was done pretty well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Good story, good acting, good cinematography.
Yeah, check it out, guys. Companion.
Yeah, definitely worth watching.
And I didn't mean to poo-poo Black Phone 2 because overall I thought it was a good movie. It was just one of those where it felt like it was lagging. It was just kind of
dragged at times.
Dragging, that's the word I'm looking for. Dragged at times, and there were just things that there were a couple other elements. But there were some really interesting concepts. Yeah. Some things were executed really, really well.
Was that Ethan Hawke?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's great as like a terrifying.
He's a good actor.
Ghostly. He almost becomes a Freddy Krueger kind of figure. But there's this whole kind of power, and this is what reminded me of the story that we just heard from Lauren, because it reminded me of astral projection or being able to leave your body through OBE type abilities, and that kind of weighs heavy in this movie as a sort of fighting mechanism. Again, very kind of Freddy Krueger-ish. But so you were thinking Lauren maybe was astral projecting, and that was the sort of doppelganger that her sister saw. Potentially, yeah. She was able to leave her body, and somehow her sister picked up on it and was able to see it. But in this case, Lauren wouldn't have been aware, obviously, because when she was woken, either she forgot, right, and she sure thought she was. I mean, the timing lines up. She's unconscious and then leaves her body. Yeah, and unaware of that she's doing it. Which, I mean, it sounds like this thing that was moving around the room seemed pretty unaware of what it was doing. So that is kind of an interesting connection. You've mentioned the idea before, Chris, too, about occasionally maybe some ghost or spirit sightings are people mistaken. Yeah, people actually are astral projecting and wandering into, obviously there are different kinds of encounters if they're more terrifying. And yeah, I mean, I do believe that people sometimes travel when they're sleeping. It's on some other plane, that it's not just an unconscious mind, a dump. Well, I thought about that because last night I had a dream. And John, I've been sleeping less to dark mutilation videos, horror 70s movies and creepy documentaries. I've been sleeping just to green noise. Green noise? It's kind of the background noise of like space movies, Star Trek, the kind of background low hum of spaceships. That's kind of the sound you hear. Is it like lower frequency stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a little higher than like a brown noise. Green noise is a little bit pretty full sounding. This is a thick sound. Oh, I guess I meant pitch wise. It doesn't sound as low in pitch as brown noise. It's a little lighter, a little thinner. We'll play a sample of it. Yeah, here for you guys. But I recommend sleeping to. I think I know what you might be talking about. Like it's carved out specific frequencies. Like white noise is the full spectrum. Mm-hmm. Like it's the entire frequency spectrum. Exactly. It's just all the way up. Yeah, this sounds like it has some of the higher frequencies removed. So it's more of a lower hum, like a lower spaceship machine kind of hum. Yes. Like that. That's pretty good. The best to sleep to, if you guys are science fiction fans, is sleeping quarters. That's where, the crew sleeps in the Enterprise and that kind of thing. But anyway, so I've been having these dreams lately that are just completely, that whole other worlds in your dreams kind of feeling when you feel like you are actually somewhere. And it occurred to me, because I had sat down with another dream world version of a Dairy Queen that used to be in Canal Fulton, Ohio. Yes. And I was sitting there and this girl came in and I talked to her for a little bit, but it was very strange because it's weird to think about how you dream about someone so clearly, but they don't resemble anyone that you can picture or remember ever meeting in your life. And I was just thinking about that today, like how many people might you meet in a dream that are actually coming in from their own world or reality or dream walking, astral projecting into your dream. Anyway, so that's just an interesting topic. We should do another episode on dreams. Yeah. I've been collecting some stories. We've had some really good submissions about these kind of dream phenomena. So if you guys want to hear that, let us know. Ooh, another good band name. Dream Phenomena. Do you guys hear that snow? That's your mic cable, I think. White noise. You guys hear it? All right. We should probably wrap up here. We've been going for a while. On that note, yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I think this was I think an important episode to do. I think there are some stories in here that I think are really good. I don't know if warning is the right word. Listen to your kids. Yeah. Listen to your kids. I'm sure most of the people here probably are pretty open to listening to their kids when it comes to this stuff and not just dismissing them. I would think so. Definitely seems like there is a real phenomena out there that is happening. So good to be aware. And if a judge can do it, one of the most high stereotypical profile, grounded people into the 3D reality, then you can do it too. That's right. Potentially risking his own career, depending on how it plays. He seems like a fairly charismatic guy. He's a good storyteller. Really do wish the audio was a little bit better. I know. Yeah. We didn't have, we weren't able to hear it as it was being recorded, so we were unaware that there were some issues going on. Yeah. But yeah, definitely, luckily he was a good storyteller, so it should translate. Yeah, and we'll probably run into them again and do some more crossover stuff. Shane, who you didn't get to hear, is also a really good storyteller, and he does most of the interviews on their channel, interviewing real experiencers of different phenomena. So definitely check them out, guys. From the Shadows Podcast, thanks again. Thanks to all of you who submitted your stories. We really do appreciate them, and it's the heart of the whole. Yeah. Well, that's it. All right, guys. Keep those windows closed. Get out of here. Get going. Get out. Don't play outside at night. Listen to it all the way through. Even if you don't watch it, just keep it going because it helps the algo to watch it all the way to the very end. Just put them on when you go to sleep at night in every room of your house on different devices. Exactly. We appreciate it. Yeah, just do that. Just do that. Anyone wants to help, just play it on loop over and over again. Go to hotels, make sure you log into YouTube and play it all day. Do you want to mention the video thing? The video thing. What was the video thing? Editor. Yeah, I guess I could mention it right now. We can throw it out there and just... Yeah. If any of you guys out there have experience with video editing and are interested in maybe joining up with us, details to be discussed. But we are looking for someone to help with post-production. It has become an enormous task for the post-production aspect of the show, and we are looking for some help. We are burning out, and we want to...
Some legitimate experience, not just someone that dabbles.
Well, sure. We're looking for someone who's got some experience, knows Premiere, Adobe Premiere, preferably, and who, if you're familiar with YouTube, that kind of content as well would be helpful. But yeah, reach out if you're interested with your experience, and if you have maybe a demo or something like that.
Well, you would need to see something that you've done for sure.
Yeah, so if you're interested, guys, send us an email at brothers@beliefhole.com. And make sure you put in the subject line, Belief Hole Video Editor, and we won't miss your message. We appreciate you reaching out.
Yes!
All right, guys, thanks for coming.
All right.
Until next time.
Yeah, have a good day, and a good night, and a good week, and a happy new year, as always.
Thanks for being awesome.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Know when your body feels so tired to get out of bed, you pour your heart